Hello, welcome. We're going to talk about the characteristics of organisms. We already know that all living things have cells, but not all organisms are exactly the same. Our essential question here is going to be, what are the basic characteristics of organisms, and how do these characteristics classify them into kingdoms? As you look at this bacteria here compared to a bear, obviously the bear is much more complex. Look how quickly this bacteria can replicate. The bear cannot replicate that fast because he's much more complex. His characteristics are much more diverse. So, an organism can be an individual animal or a plant, or like you just saw on the previous slide, a single-celled organism. You can have an entire life form in one cell. Organisms are classified into groups. These organisms have the same kingdom, and they're going to have similar characteristics when they're in that kingdom. There's going to be characteristics about animals that put them in a kingdom together with animals, plants that put them in a kingdom together with plants, and that's what I want to talk to you about. First, one of the characteristics for plants is to be autotrophic. Boy, I wish I could be autotrophic, just stand out in the sun, make my own food, and that's what these plants can do. Most of them are going to be green because that's where photosynthesis happens. The chloroplast of a plant cell will be able to generate sugar to give the plant the energy that it needs from the sun. Some will produce food through chemosynthesis, what will happen down in deep oceans, like by those volcanic activity areas where you get those heat vents. You'll get different fishes and autotrophs down there. Heterotrophs got to eat. Like that little squirrel there. Boy, is he busy eating. Humans got to eat. Our decomposers, like fungus, they've got to eat. These are some single-celled organisms that have to eat. We've got a paramecium here, and an amoeba, and even bacteria has to eat. The majority of them have to be able to, if it's a good bacteria in your gut, or if it's a bad bacteria that's making you sick, either way, it's got to eat. It's heterotrophic. The next vocabulary I want to look at is being unicellular. As you look at this group right here, protozoa can be classified as an animal, plant, or fungus based on the way that they look. So they have to give them their own little classification and call them protozoa, because an amoeba is going to eat food, but some of them can also do photosynthesis. So you're like, are you a plant or are you an animal? So they need their own little kingdom, just like the paramecium and the euglena. These are all going to be considered to be unicellular, but some of them have a nucleus, as you can see here, and some of them don't. This one's got what's called a nucleoid, which is just a big clump of DNA that's not in an actual nucleus. But that could be unicellular prokaryotic like this, or because these have a nucleus, those are going to be eukaryotic cells. And that is coming up in a moment. It's going to tell you a little bit further about that. But these are the constants. These are these are consisting of these single-celled organisms: the bacteria, archaea, protozoa, and algae. Characteristics of an organism can also be multicellular, meaning it consists of many cells. Complex organisms will be like this, and they can be seen with the naked eye. You do not have to use a microscope to view a multicellular animal, plant, fungus. You should be able to see them. The cells become specialized for what they do. They could become a nerve cell in an animal, muscle cell, brain cell, flower, stem, branch, grass. I mean, these are all going to have their own specialized. And when you look at this tiger, he has a different type of cell that forms his eyes, and a different type of cell that forms his fur, and a different type of cell that forms his claw. But they all come from the same source of DNA, because he'll have one set of DNA that makes a tiger a tiger. You have one source of DNA that you got from your parents that make you uniquely you. We just mentioned earlier that prokaryotic cell will not have a nucleus. It gets this little nucleoid that's just kind of floating around there that contains the DNA. Every single cell has DNA. Prokaryotes do not have a nucleus. They don't have any organelles like ribosomes or Golgi bodies. They're going to be unicellular, which means they're going to be more primitive, but that can give them an advantage because that means they can replicate a lot faster than animals can, than plants can. I love this little image over here where you can see white blood cell trying to hunt down this bacteria. It's going around, it's going to consume it and get it out of the body. Got you. Hunted it down. Good job. You can kind of compare the sizes of those. Love that image. Eukaryotic cells. Remember, you are a eukaryote because you have your DNA inside a nucleus. Eu actually means true for true nucleus, and karyote is that container that has the nucleus or DNA inside of it. Again, prokaryotic and eukaryotic have DNA, but this one is inside the nucleus. And they get those membrane-bound organelles. You've got mitochondria here, some vacuoles, the Golgi body we were talking about. And they're going to be found in those multicellular, more advanced plants and animals. Asexual reproduction is a regeneration, a budding, or cellular division coming from one parent who will give off 100% of their DNA, and they're going to be able to reproduce a lot faster than sexual reproduction that you'd have in a plant or an animal. The characteristics here. Now, I want you to notice this is not to scale. Bacteria, prokaryotes are way tinier. It would be like a speck on here compared to this eukaryote, but it's large enough so you can see this is that nucleoid and this is the nucleus, and that's a big difference between those. So let's go really quickly through those 6 types again. There are 6 different kingdoms: Protista, fungi, Animalia, Plantae, eubacteria, and archaebacteria. These 4 on the top are eukaryotic multicellular organisms. Well, these 3, because the Protista tends to be unicellular. Then these 2 on the bottom are your prokaryotes. You can see the DNA is just floating around in there. So the eubacteria is going to be that true bacteria. It's prokaryotic, unicellular, and normally will have that simple rod type shape. The archaebacteria will also look just like regular bacteria, but it's going to be able to handle an extreme environment near these hydrovents or other areas. Otherwise, it's very similar to look of the regular bacteria that you would see in your prokaryote. They are both going to be prokaryotic, meaning they have DNA, but it's not in a nucleus. Classification of Protista. Again, you can already see that's more complex because it's got a nucleus in it. That nucleus makes it to do more functions than what you just see with bacteria that replicates. So this is eukaryotic because it does have that DNA in a nucleus, and it cannot be classified as an animal or a fungus because it just doesn't fit in with that same information. This is going to be more like your slime molds, which is here. The Protista, which is here, and then your primitive algae over here. Your kingdom fungi, we got some microscopic versions of this. Your yeast over here on A, here it is under the microscope. Yes, that's the same kind of yeast you would put in bread. Mushrooms over here, and then ringworm over there. These again, they have to eat or consume. These are decomposers down here. They're going to break down things, and they are multicellular because you can see them with your naked eye. The kingdom Plantae, again, they're autotrophic. They can make their own food. They're most likely to live on land. They're eukaryotic, and because you can see it with your naked eye, it's multicellular. The kingdom Animalia, you should be pretty familiar with this one because you can see these, and they're just fun to watch, fun to look at. They're multicellular, so you can see them with your naked eye. They're eukaryotic, which means they have what? A nucleus, and they live all over. They do need to eat. They're heterotrophic, which is going to mean that they need to consume food. And let's kind of check to make sure we're all on the same page here. Can you now identify the basic characteristics of an organism? Is it multicellular, unicellular? Is it prokaryotic, eukaryotic? Can you identify an organism's characteristics and then classify them into kingdoms? Here is a chart that shows you each of the different kingdoms and what they can do. Study that, and I'm going to have a couple of questions for you.